All right, what's going on, guys? Back at fantasy golf and betting. It's another year, and I know it's been a while since the last one I did was a British Open of last year. It's been some time, but I did have my third kid. It's been a busy household the last couple months, and so finally getting around to getting back to this. But hopefully my insight, talking to players, talking to caddies, and also doing a lot of research, looking at rickrungood.com, Andy Lack, a number of other sources for stats like this. Hopefully this helps you with your betting and looking ahead in fantasy golf for this season. So a course like Riviera, it doesn't get much better than this. I spoke with 2015 champion James Hahn. He said, you cannot fake it around this place. You've got to bring your best stuff. And it exposes so many different aspects of your game. But when you think about this course and how difficult it is, last year, 49% of players hit the fairways for the week of Riviera. That's how difficult it was playing. Now last year was actually an anomaly because you saw a low number coming from Joaquin Niemann and Cameron Young into the late teens at this tournament. But yeah, still hard to hit fairways here. It's always firm and fast, but last year hard to hit fairways. It was the 5th lowest greens in regulation percentage last year as well. So you're going to miss greens. You're going to be out of position. And just the bounces, the angles around the greens, the contouring, the bunkering, it's really difficult. The greens themselves, Poana greens, a lot of players don't like that surface. A lot of players are not comfortable with it. But you know what? This is what players have to face. And consequently, short putts is also important around here too, especially inside of 5 feet. From last year, the last 8 years, this is ranked in the top 6 in putting difficulty inside of 5 feet. So you really have got to be able to get up and down. Short game, putting, coming through on this course is so huge because everyone is going to be out of position throughout this week. It's just going to be guaranteed. So as we look at the DFS fantasy lineups, I would encourage, you want to find a player that is a good scrambler. You want to have a good iron player. You want to have consistent putter as well. There's just so many things that would make this up, right? So let me give you a list of a few names here. I'm going to go through obviously some of the favorites, but then I'm going to also go into some value picks as I talk about. I speak with players and caddies. As a journalist, I've been out there covering golf for about 12, 13 years. And I try to get insight on some of these players and caddies and what they think about the course, how it matches their game or their player's game in the case of caddies. So hopefully that insight helps you as you look ahead to a week like this and make your wagers. Let's start at the top. Jon Rahm, 11,100. He should be up there, okay? I know he didn't win last week, but he's in the last 3 weeks. Jon Rahm has been in the final group, played his way into the final group on the PGA Tour all 3 times. And the week before that, he shot 10 under par to win the Tournament of Champions. So talk about being on a heater. This guy has been so solid these last 3 weeks. And if you look at this course, like I mentioned, shots gained around the green is so important. Everyone's going to be out of position at some point. Well, he's 13th in that category right now. So with all of his good scoring clubs, his irons, his driving, he still has an ability to get up and down from anywhere, basically. And that's so huge on a week like this. Off the tee, we mentioned 50% of players missed it, over 50% last year. And he is second in that department. That is huge, I think, just setting up and being comfortable. He has shown he's comfortable around this golf course. If you look, he's only started 4 times, a T9, T17, T5 and a T21 in those 4 starts, 26 under par in those 4 starts. He's looked very comfortable. He's looked in stride on this course. And I think you have a Jon Rahm, I think at the top like that, you can't, I don't think it's a bad pick. I think this is a right time to start him in DFS lineups for this week. Beyond that, you're looking at last week's champion, Scottie Scheffler, defended successfully at TPC Scottsdale. I love what he brings to the table. And I think, honestly, as strong as his game is, it starts with his caddy. Teddy Scott 3 times has looped for a winner at this golf course at Riviera, right? Bubba Watson. It's pretty unbelievable. Name me another caddy or another veteran who's been able to speak that kind of volumes with caddies, that's been able to bring that type of strength to the game. I mean, it starts with the caddy. To me, just to have that kind of winning experience is huge for a player like Scotty Scheffler. He's fifth on tour in proximity from 150 to 175 in his last 50 rounds. Now, that's a number. You look at 150 to 175, even out to 200. That's a number on this course that is really important for approach shots. I think that's something you got to be looking at, because a lot of players, they're going to have a hard time getting inside that number. It's just the way the dog legs are, the way the trees are. It's hard to get too much inside of 150. So that's important to see that. He's fifth on tour in shots gained approach in his last 50 rounds as well. So iron play has been so solid recently for a player like Scotty Scheffler, and that's, I think, huge around this golf course. It's demanding coming into these greens, and Scotty has a very strong skill set coming in that department. So that's Scotty Scheffler, 10,700, very strong, I think. Justin Thomas, 10,100. I think you cannot hesitate too much with JT. I know people can look at, hey, he's missed his last two cuts at this course. I know he was second before that in 2019. So he's got a mixed history, but very solid before these last two recent cuts. He's coming off a fourth and a 65 on Sunday, where he gained all kinds of strokes in different departments at TPC Scottsdale. Really seems like he's coming into form. He's got the momentum. Last 50 rounds, this is really important. In the last 50 rounds, he's number one in shots gained around the green on the PGA Tour. This is Justin Thomas, consistent, and that's what you need at a place like Riviera. It's so easy to get out of position. Everyone is going to be getting out of position throughout the week, and to have a JT who is so confident, solid, and consistent in that department is so important, I think, throughout a week to keep 72 holes going, to stay in the mix. I think that's going to be huge for Justin Thomas. And then another thing, he's eighth in shots gained tee to green this season on the PGA Tour. He's got the driving, he's got the accuracy with his irons. When you mix those all together, he really is picking up strokes on the field. So a course like this is really going to be, I think he's going to be licking his chops to have a good week this week. And then the other thing too, he's 34th in distance. It's important when a lot of players are missing fairways to be down there, to be far off the tee. And he's one of the obviously top 34 player on the PGA Tour with distance, historically always been a longer player. So that's a huge advantage for a start for you to have a guy like Justin Thomas in your quiver, as they say. The other thing too, he's fifth in sand safe percentage. So around the greens, that's another important factor too, to have JT giving you that kind of consistency, really solid. There's so many bunkers, and they're deep bunkers here at Riviera. So it's an important factor to have JT playing well, long game, short game, crucial, I think. So a good play at 10,100, Justin Thomas. Of course, Rory McIlroy, a lot of other big names are in these top numbers as well. He's played pretty consistently at this golf course. So I like Rory, but you know what? I want to focus also on Tony Finau. So Tony Finau's at 9,500. I like what he brings to the table. I spoke with his caddy, Mark Urbanek. He said this is a faders golf course primarily. You know, he knows his guy fades the golf ball really well. It's a really soft fade, consistent. And it's also rewards premier ball striking. A venue like this at Riviera rewards it. Well, that's his guy in a nutshell. Premier ball striker, third in shots gained tee to green. He's ninth in shots gained approach. I mean, this fits Tony to a T, and how his caddy is describing the way this course, the advantages you can take up on this course, and what this course favors. He's 25th in putting. That's going to be important, I think, around this golf course this week. He plays well he puts well on Poanit. He contends at Torrey Pines, contend this week, or he typically contends pretty well at Riviera. He's got 2 second-place finishes at this place. Remember that playoff loss to Max Homa, then he also T2 3 years before that. So this is a player that I think is such a solid pick at 9,500. I really like what he brings to the table. And then around the greens, 46th. Well above the midway on the PGA Tour. So there's just a lot to like, I think, about Tony Finau. Give him a shot this week. He's second in shots gained approach in his last 50 rounds. I mean, this guy's iron play is so good. It's going to be such a test for these players to be hitting these greens. And I think he's got He's got the weaponry. He's got the accuracy to be consistent in that area again this week. So look out for Tony Finau at Riviera. Genesis this week. Looking at other players, so he's at 9,500. I hope I have this right for you guys next. I want to say in order with numbers. Patrick Cantlay, 9,000. Solid player. And if you look at, he played this course a couple times, 2012, 2013, missed the cuts early in his early 20s. But since he's really been a consistent PGA Tour player, a full-time PGA Tour player, he's played it 5 times, really the last 5 years. T4, T15, T17, T15, and T33 last year. So that's Patrick Cantlay really getting comfortable around the golf course. He's actually quoted as saying this is a course he really likes, really enjoys the way it tests him, the challenge of the course. So that's important. He's first in birdie average, okay? That's going to help on a long week like this. So firm, so fast, tricky Kikuyu grass around the greens, and then Poa annua greens. I mean, there's just so many reasons why things can go haywire, but you know he can score. First in birdie average, first in scrambling from the fringe, which is important. You got to be able to scramble around here. His greens and regulation, he's first there as well. I mean, where do you want to break with a guy like Patrick Cantlay? He is delivering in so many important areas. 13th in driving distance, total driving, he's 6th. I mean, so he's going to have the iron play. The driving is so good, so solid, way above average, top, really premier. It's what he brings to the table. Cantlay, such a solid player there. And then shots game putting. Oh yeah, 13th. How do you like them apples? Okay, there's just so many factors that he's able to bring to the table, which I think helps compete at Riviera. He's comfortable. He knows the course. This should set up well and should be a good week for Patrick Cantlay. I think you would do well to start him at 9,000 on DFS. All right, we get to Cameron Young, and look what he's done recently, or what he's done for me recently. Well, the Saudi International, what was he, top 3 in that event overseas? So he's playing well recently. He's 5th in birdie average, right? T2 last year as a rookie at this golf course. First time he saw it as a full-time rookie on the PGA Tour. Played really well. He finished 17 under par, okay? Who does that as a rookie at Riviera? You almost never see that. I know the conditions were a little bit easier than normal last year, but that is amazing play off the bat at this golf course. He's 8th in distance, okay? So he's going to be missing fairways with everybody else, over 50% like it's been, at least was last year. But he's going to be so much further down there than a lot of other players, and it's going to help him. He's got the familiarity, the confidence from last year. He's going to be way down there, shorter clubs, 20th in greens and regulation right now on the PGA Tour. So his iron play has been pretty spot on, consistent player. He's 4th in that specific range. We're telling you about 150 to 175 yards, a pretty common approach distance for players this week. That's important too. And then 4th in bounce back percentage, I think, is a huge factor too for a player like Cameron Young, that he can bounce back quickly. You're going to make mistakes at a place like Riviera. This guy, Cameron Young, at 8,800, is going to be a solid pick for you with all those. And those are just starters. There's a lot of other stats we could get into with Cameron Young, but he's a good pick for this week. Victor Hovland is at 8,900, and Victor is a solid pick in so many ways for your DFS lineup. And I would say, well, off the bat, T5 in his debut at this golf course a couple years ago. Just from the word go, he was comfortable around Riviera, which is not easy. It's always a tricky, firm and fast golf course, and you've got to have a lot of aspects of your game dialed in. He's not particularly a good chipper, as he's mentioned in the past, and to be able to go T5 is really impressive. T4 last year in his second start, he has not scored over par at Riviera in either of his 2 starts in 8 rounds. And typically this is a course where over par makes the cut. Okay. It has in the last 10 years. That's been the case. So, other players have shot a lot worse than Victor. He's beaten a lot of players, and look at number of rounds over par. He's second best putting week of the season was last year. So he's comfortable on these greens, Poana greens, which is really crucial. He's 14th in shots gained off the tee right now. I think that's the strength of his game, really driving, right? Consistency with the driver, being able to be 40th in distance and 25th in accuracy. Okay, we're talking about accuracy being so important around this golf course. More than 50% missed the fairway last year on average, and here he is 25th in accuracy. Still with plenty of length, so a good combination for a guy like Victor Hovland. He's 41st in sand save percentage, deep bunkers here at Riviera, so he's got that going for him, which I think is going to help keep his charge and his momentum going to have a good week. So look at Victor Hovland. I just think there's just so much packed into what he can bring. T5 in his debut, which is just so impressive, right? As a rookie a couple years ago, rookie to Riviera. I mean, to get comfortable that comfortable that quickly is so rare. And then he comes back the next year, goes T4, which is just like, how do you do that? How are you able to one up and stay in the mix? So just really impressive. No rounds under par so far this year. I say no rounds under par so far at Riviera in 8 total rounds. And this is a course where typically over par is what the cut ends up hitting. So really gains a lot of strokes on players. He's 14th in shots gains out the tee. That's really his bread and butter, right? Driving, so consistent with the long stick. He's 40th in distance, 25th in accuracy. So a really good combination there for him. And then 41st in sand save. So around the greens, he's able to stay in the mix with his sand save percentage. So look out for Victor Hovland. Should be a good player for your lineups this week. All right, we're getting down to the home stretch. We will get to 8,300. Matt Fitzpatrick. How do you like them apples? Fitzpatrick has played so well 2 times. He's played 2 times at Riviera. I know he started last year, but he ended up WDing before going there. Stomach bug in 2022. 5th place, T5 in 2021 here, a T30 in 2020. This guy is coming off a lot of momentum. Fitzpatrick's coming off a lot of momentum. A 65, 6 under at Phoenix to finish out on Sunday. Solid finish. And I just like the momentum he has going into this event. Coming off of a 6 under 65 at Phoenix last week. That's huge, I think, just to show you he's got some form. Shots gained around the green. Okay, this is that course where there's just so many, it's so easy to lose shots around the green. Well, he's 12th on the PGA Tour this year, so he brings a really consistent chipping, and he's got that cross-handed grip and all that craziness, but hey, it's consistent, and it shows you what he's able to bring there. I talked to his caddy, Billy Foster, and he said his game matches up for Riviera in every single department. Okay, chipping, iron play, long game, you name it. The course suits his eye for shot making. It's a shot maker's golf course. He knows that. Fitzpatrick knows that. And as a result, total driving, he's 11th on the PGA Tour this year, right? He's 27th in greens and regulations. So you want to talk about shot making. This is the kind of player that can bring his game and his strengths to Riviera and really help your bank account, right? So that's the bottom line. Putting from 3 feet, he's first. He's made all 136 putts from 3 feet. That's another thing Billy Foster mentions. He's like, whenever his guy has a 3-footer, he doesn't even worry about it. It's not something he stresses out the way other players he would have stressed out. Maybe a Lee Westwood or a Sergio, maybe not quite as consistent from the 3 to 4 foot range, but he's very comfortable when he knows Fitz has a short putt. So he gained strokes on approach both years in the 2 years he's played at Riviera, and he gained stroke around the green last year. So look, this is a guy, I think at 8,300, he might be the best value for the entire week at Riviera. Take that to the bank, however you like to check, get your checks cashed, and go with Matt Fitzpatrick for this week. Another player that interests me, a player that really interests me is, did I say that right? A player I really like for this week in terms of DFS lineups, or even just straight up odds. Adam Scott. Adam Scott, 8,000 on DFS this week. Adam Scott is a two-time winner on the PGA Tour. Excuse me, two-time winner at Riviera. He's made the cut in 13 of 14 starts. Okay, like, where do you start with Adam Scott? Okay, he's two-time winner at Riviera. He's made the cut in 13 of 14 starts here, including 8 top 11 finishes. This guy loves this golf course. He told me he loves the sight lines, the challenge of the course, the way it looks off the tee, the approach is coming in. He likes just kind of the visuals, and the way it challenges his game, the way it tests his game. Every facet of his game. There's no easy birdies outside the first hole. It's just there's no easy holes out there. So it's a course that he embraces, really likes, and you can see in the numbers he's comfortable around it. He knows this is a course that he can take advantage of, and he can play in different conditions. Remember how wet it was in 2005, I want to say, when he won. 2005 to 06, and then 2020 it was a lot different. It was his typical firm and fast. So this is something. Weather's going to be kind of a mix next week or this coming week, and I think that a player like Adam Scott will bring you a lot of consistency for Riviera. And then looking beyond that, how about Patrick Rodgers? Patrick Rodgers at 7,000 for this week in DFS. He had a 65 in his final round on Sunday at Scottsdale for tie for 14th. He gains strokes in every category, right? Great sign for Riv as you go into a tough golf course like this. He's one of the top-ranked POA putters in his last 50 starts, which is huge. And think about like where he started, right? I'm thinking of 2017 was in the final group of Torrey Pines. Played really well there before he finished tied for 4th. You think about he had an early lead at the U.S. Open, one of the early leaders, I should say, in 2021 at Riviera, or excuse me, at Torrey Pines on those Poana greens. And so he just really something he's very consistent on courses that have Poana greens. He's top 4 top 26s or better at Riviera so far in 7 starts. I think this is a course that really plays well for him. It matches up, and I think you got to go with a player like Patrick Rodgers. Solid at 77,000. You can tell it's late at night as I do this, but we're going to get through. We've got a couple more before we finish up. All right. All right, so we're looking at a player like Brendan Todd. I like what he's come through recently, right? I know he missed the cut in Phoenix last week, but look what he did at Pebble Beach. He was T2 at Pebble, and there was a point, especially on the back 9, where he was really the second guy, the only guy with a real chance. Rose really separated himself, ended up winning by 3, but Todd was up there 1 back for a while, 2 back there on the back 9, and just really kind of knocking on the door. That's important experience, I think, going into a big league week like Riviera, just being close to the lead. And I look at his experience. He's 4th in driving accuracy. This, of course, everybody misses fairways, so he's used to hitting fairways and being consistent. That's going to help him a lot this week. He's 21st in scrambling, which is huge because everyone's going to miss greens around this golf course. He's okay missing greens. If you think about that, right? If you're 21st, that means that you're pretty good at getting up and down. So being in awkward positions is not something that he is going to shy away from. I asked him, hey, Brendan, how do you feel about this golf course? He says shots gained around the green is massive for me on a golf course like this. It's hard for me to hit some of these greens, just period. It just, he knows the angles. He knows the way they play, firm and fast. And it's just a challenge. So he understands chipping, bunker play is so important for him this week. Shots gained around the green, he's 30th on the season. Scrambling from the rough, he's 2nd. So there's a lot of solid signs when you look at a player like Brendan Todd. He's 15th in putting for 4 to 8 feet. And that's so important, I think, on Poana greens. When you look at that range, is going to be crucial this week. And you have a consistent player in that department. And then lastly, Sansei's 38th on the PGA Tour. There's so many bunkers around Riviera, so many awkward shots out of bunkers. And I think a guy who's been around there, he knows it, and he's consistent at 38. So take a player like Brendan Todd this week. All right, lastly, 6,400. You got Matt Neesmith at 6,400. I like what he brings to the table. Listen, I know he's not a household name, but the very first time that he played Riviera on the PGA Tour, his first start, out of the gates, tied for 20th. Okay, like from the word go, he was happy with this place. He liked the way the course played. I talked to him this week. He said he loves the golf course. He says you can't hide at Riv, and he loves that. He loves that aspect. Like there's no faking it around Riviera, right? It'll expose your weaknesses. It's a wonderful, fair test of golf, in my opinion. That's what Matt Neesmith told me. Green to regulation, he's a good iron player. 41st so far. He hit 71.15% of his greens. So that's important skill set to bring to a course like Riviera that matches up well. And then that range we're talking about, 150 yards to 175. He's 6th on the PGA Tour in that very common range you'll see at Riviera for this week. So that's crucial as well. Putting from 4 feet, he's made all 28 attempts this year, so we tied for first, basically. That's a very important area as well, short putting a week like this at Riviera. Then shots game putting, overall he's 56, so he's better than the average in putting on the PGA Tour this year. So important as you look at the entire package. But what do we start this with? Good iron play, good chipping around the green, short game, and putting. Short putting is crucial for this week. And you're looking at a very solid value with Matt Neesmith at 6,400 for this week. And those are some of my DFS picks for this week. Thanks for hanging in there. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and subscribe here to my YouTube channel if you like the content. Garrett Johnston on Fantasy Golf.